Yeah, welcome back to MoMo. I had to start off. This is gonna be a very New York episode, so if you ain't ready for it, bye. But if you are, here we are. We actually have some craft beers from Brooklyn, even though this is gonna be a Bronx tale told by Stephanie Delgado and Jacob Dabby here as special guests. But yeah. Stephanie has been here for about 4 years now. She's been living in LA, doing her thing. She's from the Bronx, obviously that's why we have her here. And Jacob's here on a visit that kind of turned into extended vacation because he just landed a role. He'll talk about that a little bit more. But Steph, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do here, and like what made you come out here.
All right. Well, hello. Podcast
Hello,
friends. So she said my name is Stephanie. Me and Monica met in college, and fun little fact, I am her her grandbig.
Yes, like my great
to the second power in our sorority.
Papa Doctor.
Yeah.
That's the one. She almost forgot it. She's wearing Beyonce sorority.
It's my Beyonce sweater.
I was about to say, is that not it?
That's not it.
I joined the Beyonce's Coachella sorority.
She pledged.
Yeah, so I've been in LA. It's gonna be 4 years now. I do ad sales, so I am behind the scene, unlike these folks that like to be in front of the camera.
So hopefully she's gonna put us on billboards.
Yes, so get you some sponsors that are gonna want to spend money, and
there we go.
We'll make it happen.
It's all a business here.
It is all a business. It's all about revenue. What made me move to LA? I actually grew up by coastal. My dad's side of the family lives out here in LA. So when my sister and I were younger, we would come here over the summer and the holidays, and I always knew that I wanted to live in LA. Mm-hmm. And it was all about timing. I applied for college, withdrew my application. I was dating somebody, so I think that definitely helped me back. And when that journey came to an end, and I was like, I'm doing it. The timing was just right. 2015, I was like, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it. And here I am 4 years later. I think I'm ready to go back.
Now it's time back to go
back
back
to myself. Official announcment. You're ready to go back?
You heard it here first.
You heard it here first. I'm on the move.
Stephanie on the move.
Just pull it back through.
Yo, but New York is too great. Like, I miss it all the time, but I feel like I haven't done enough damage here. I mean, I also have only been 6 months here, but California hasn't received the full
MoMo experience.
The full MoMo experience. No. All right, Jacob. Wait. Tell us what part of the Bronx you're from.
I am from Kingsbridge.
Okay.
Like so 4 train line.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know.
4 train line.
For those of you that know, you know.
I know. Right. I was like, I needed the train. Like, where am I getting off on? And for you? Tell us.
I'm Jacob. I'm also, a New Yorker, born and bred.
Guys.
Pause.
We're all also New Paltz alumni, so this is a New Paltz reunion.
We will not tell you what year we graduated because
we all graduated the same year.
We all graduated the same year.
I mean, I look like I could have graduated with you guys.
She looks great.
As the Momovators.
Momovators.
As the Momovators could see at home. She looking fine.
She looking fine with the long vowel. All right, Jacob.
I'm Jacob. I'm Jacob Dabby. I grew up obviously in the Bronx, mostly in like Riverdale and Kingsbridge. My family all owned like different businesses all along Kingsbridge.
All the little Jews.
Yeah, I'm off the one line. Exactly. Mm-hmm. All that Jewish family owned business. I grew up there my whole life. I love it there, obviously. I'm an actor. I don't know if I said that. That's what I'm doing here. I kind of came on vacation to LA. And I was only going to be here maybe a couple weeks. And then I ended up booking a show here, Luckily.
Congratulations. Jacob is on the move. Big things.
Yeah, Viral the musical.
Booked the show before I did, and I've been here 6 months straight.
Nah. It was a lot of luck and friends and like good fortune, and it worked out. So I'm gonna be here a little extra time, which is gonna be fun. But Yeah, shout out Viral the Musical, shout out Vinny Craig, another New Paltz alumni, Hank.
Hey.
But yeah, so I'm here, but I will certainly be going back to New York. I have no intention of making this a permanent residence.
New York is great,
Respect that.
but I love LA.
Mhm.
But here comes question number 1. All right.
Dun, dun.
I know,
No
and I know
So
you guys have
begins.
different perspectives
No
because she's
pressure.
been here 4 years and you're just here on a visit. So, what are the top 3 things that you miss about New York, Steph? And then the top 3 things that you miss, and then the top 3 things that you don't miss. For
Okay.
each of
Okay. Easy. Food, transportation, my family.
Yo, that's like,
That's pretty
that
solid.
actually might be my exact 3 things.
I can
that
tell you
I'm
why. I
missing.
mean,
Yeah, tell me why.
first of all, can we talk about pizza? Can we talk about bagels?
That
Bagels,
shows like
the
it's not
pizza,
even.
the pizza and
Yeah,
Easy.
it's not even a conversation.
Also, the water over here tastes completely different than it does in New York.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
tap water. You mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree, but I
I
also
like
don't
New
think
York
it's
water
bad.
better.
New York water is definitely better though. But like I could tell the difference when I was in New Paltz too. When I was drinking the tap water in New Paltz and
Yeah,
I was
when you're
drinking the
upstate
tap
in
water
New
in the
York, you'll
city.
get that nasty like.
I was like, ew, and like even
sulfuriness.
when I was like washing my hair, I was like,
It's-
my hair feels like stringy and
Yeah.
hard.
And
I
it's
haven't
different
had that vibe here.
It's
like,
different
It's
here.
just different.
Yeah.
So obviously those are the first 2 things. I miss the Caribbean food, you know, the Dominican food, the Puerto Rican
Yeah.
food. You don't get that here. And of course, you know, the West Coast has
A more Mexican Central
right, more
American
Central American, so
population.
you'll find that. I miss how easy it is for you just to get out a bar and go pick up food because things
From
are
your
up
local
until 4
bodega.
a.m.
Yeah.
You know, I miss
Exactly.
that. I miss transportation. You can get from point A to point B. It might take you 2 hours, but you're gonna get there.
The options there.
The option is absolutely
Well,
there.
like and also just like the transportation here is so limited in terms of your options. Like in New York, you could take the train, or you could take a bus, or you could take your car, or you could walk. Like you know, like those are all legitimate options. A majority of the time, you're going somewhere. But like here, if you don't have a car, you're essentially shit out of luck.
Right.
Like the metro system here is super new by comparison.
And it's only limited to like downtown LA, and like the buses
And it
run
is
around me,
expanding.
but like the times are limited, and if you're not
If
on
you
the
miss
bus
it, you're
time,
fucked.
Same with like the metro. It'll only. I was talking about this today. Like the metro will be running once every 15, like 10 minutes the earliest, but like 15, 20 minutes. In New York, it's like every 3
2
minutes, 2 minutes, you got another train coming.
Yeah,
Like-
you still rush.
Yeah, you
You
still rush.
rush to the subway as if
yo, because you're
you
trying
But
to.
can't
that's-
see the other one
but that's
and
what-
the next stop coming.
That's like a New York thing, though.
It is a
Like
New York
even
thing.
if you have options,
It
like
is a
you're
New-
still
yeah.
booking it.
Every single minute
Yeah.
counts though in New York. You know you
That
gotta
is
be
true.
there at that time, so you're trying to catch the 7:58 train to make it there at 9 because you know there's gonna be 3 train traffic delays. A person just hopped off. Oh wait, this girl's holding the door, and there's this bum peeing right next to you. So you gotta be prepared for all this shit. So if you don't catch the 7:58 train, it's a wrap
That's
because
true.
you never fucking know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could food, transportation, and family, and my
For
friends.
sure.
Like
Yeah, those are the big, like personally, like I've been here about a month now, and like a very like jarring thing is like being away from family, not only by distance but by time. So like once it's 9 o'clock, everybody I
It's
know
already
is
midnight
asleep.
over there.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's true.
like you know, it's not like I'm like mommy, but like
Right.
there's no more calling your family. There's no.
I call my mom on my way to work.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
So
usually
it's 9
early.
a.m. here and it's like lunchtime.
Like
over
they
there.
already got their day going.
The
and
majority
all
of the
that.
time that I call is like when I wake up at like 7, 8 in the morning because I know it's like normal time for them. Like they're not the early birds. I mean they are, but it's just like they've already got their grinds year in
Yeah.
right here, and yeah, or really late at night. Like well, late for us, but like it's like 10 o'clock for them. So I like to call it like around dinner time here because like
Yeah.
it's like 10 o'clock and they're about to go to bed, and I'd be like, all
But I
right.
also don't like to call them because I know I don't like to talk on the phone at 10 o'clock.
You're
Like,
right.
I'm unwinding. And I
Yeah.
don't
See,
wanna
my
talk.
friends are like getting lit and still like, oh yeah, we're
Yeah.
That's a wilding. It's been preparing all day. But I just want to say for the Dominicans in Cali that there is a supermarket I just discovered. If you follow Dominicans in Cali on Instagram, there's a Dominican supermarket where I can get my you can get plátanos anywhere here. That's kind of universal, but like the salami that you fry for the mango and the queso frito, yes, it exists. It's out here. It's around Glendale area.
Okay.
I haven't hit it up yet because I discovered it yesterday.
Okay.
Can we go like next week? Because I've been like crying about no chicharron. Like I'm like I feel a way
We will go
about
to that supermarket. I will cook everything.
Although I did
Okay,
have
that's all you
some
have to say. I'm in there because I don't.
She's like, okay, so we'll go to your apartment.
Okay, I'll take that.
The other day though, I did have some crazy Cuban food that I was shocked.
Did you go to Portos? Portos is pretty fire.
Is it in North Hollywood?
They have multiple locations.
Yes, it's like a bakery also.
Yes,
that's exactly where I went.
Portos is pretty
That shit was not like, it wasn't like I got a Cuban there, and it wasn't like a malecón Cuban, but it was still delicious.
Portos is pretty fire.
It is.
All right, so what are the top 3 things you don't miss about New York?
The people.
Nah, I miss the people. In LA, like, that was gonna be my
back and
third
forth,
thing.
but I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
The people are nasty. They bring out the nasty side of me. You know what I mean? So as much as I miss the people,
That's true.
As much as I miss the people and I miss the hustle and I miss the fact that everybody's moving at my pace, they also bring out the nasty side of you.
Right.
But like,
And especially being in the subway.
like, I feel like when I'm here, and maybe this is also an actor, artist type thing, but every time I'm conversing with someone, it's about like what you do, your career. Like it's very much like pushing forward your shit, your brand. But it's like about yourself, you know? Whereas in New York, it's people are way more real with you.
We had this conversation when we first met.
Yeah, we did talk about this.
I would say this. I don't miss people's attitude, but I miss people how real they keep it in New York.
Yes.
That's two different things.
Yes, that's absolutely what I miss.
Because people in New York have attitudes.
Yeah.
And I'll be one to admit it. But as much as I have an attitude, I keep it real with you.
Yeah.
But like I prefer you keeping it real with me and having an attitude. Like in LA, I'll come across someone, they'll be like, oh, hey man, hi, yeah, hi, nice, yeah, thank you. Whereas like in New York, they'll be like, get the fuck out of my way, like fuck you. And then the next time they see you, they're like, oh, hey, it's you, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I've never been asked where I work as much as I have been asked.
I think that
because everyone's looking for something from you.
Yeah, and I was
in
like,
New York,
sorry,
nobody wants shit from you.
I can't get you an ad. I'm sorry, I can have Oprah listen to your pitch.
Yeah.
It's actually legal. Please submit it on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I feel like, especially in our industry, like, that's just inevitable. Like, the whole networking, where you at, who you are, like, where can you get me by me being your friend, like, that's just, I feel like that's more of our industry, and I feel like we see it more because, you know, we're in Hollywood right now, so or LA, and people are just like, oh, you're this, you're an Instagram promoter, you're a director, like, oh my god, put me in your next movie. Like, her industry, I guess, is just like, people are coming to her like, yo, put me out there, but like, it's not a really like, it's not urgent.
Like here, there are a lot of people seeking collaboration, whereas in New York, a lot of people are trying to grind and stay in their lane because they're trying to build momentum.
They have like the peripherals on in New York.
Exactly. Like people know for the most part like what it is that they're fucking with, whereas here, everybody's fucking with everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know you guys are gonna say the Bronx, but as a New Yorker that's not from any of those boroughs, Long Island, I'm actually from Long Island, but I fuck with Queens the most, and I think Queens is the most poppin' borough. That's a tale for another day, but today's episode is called A Bronxtale.
That's the hill you'll die on.
It's so, okay, I can battle. We can battle, but I'm gonna let you guys rock and tell me why you think the Bronx is the best.
I just like, I grew up being told Bronx was the best also. Like,
I mean, I'll give you
it's-
this, the Yankees are there and like 90% of my people are there. The
yeah, like
Dominicans are
it's
all
growing
over there.
It's true.
It's growing up around a bunch of like diehard Yankees and Knicks fans, and like my father and like all his friends would have me on like a bar stool, and they'd be like, the only good thing about Queens is it has 2 airports. like straight up, they'll just be like,
Yes.
they'll be like, that's the only good thing about
That
Queens.
is so true.
Fuck Queens, fuck Staten
Queens
In all
Island.
the streets, it's like you have first Ave, first this, and where am I going?
That's the worst thing about
Where
Queens to
am I
me.
going?
Is like you'll have 68th Street, Avenue Boulevard Road.
Yeah, no,
all
honestly,
next
that
to
shit
each
is-
other.
but it's all like
if you
a
go to
square, though,
68th
like, it's all-
Avenue and you're supposed to be in 68 Boulevard, you are fucked.
Yeah.
Because that shit's in like the other side of Queens.
Like people will be mailing things to the
Horrible.
wrong locations.
Horrible.
It's a mess. City planning fucked up when they made Queens. It's a mess. It's a mess. But yeah, I mean,
No,
yeah.
But like Queens is honestly like the most diverse borough I have ever been. Like the Bronx, I feel like every time I go, it's mostly like Latinos, Black people, and I guess like Riverdale is a different world.
We
though.
have little
Riverdale
like
is
Italians and like
a lot of the time people talk about Riverdale more like it's like the northwest side of Manhattan.
Okay.
Like just because
Like you almost
Like-
forget it's in the Bronx.
you do, a lot of people do, and like in a lot of ways it is like, because like it's, I don't know, like there's just so much like it's up on this hill, and like financially it's like higher like a lot of the time, like just like higher income housing and things like
Yeah,
that.
because when I think
So,
of the Riverdale and the Bronx, I think of like white privileged bougie-ness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over there. And then like when you go to like where she's from in the Bronx, it's like you're like Dominicans playing dominoes in the
Right,
street,
right.
presidente's
Yeah.
being passed left and right, like
The
Yeah.
fire hydrant open in the summer.
yeah.
Yeah, of course, you know, like all on Grand Concourse and like all that. Yeah.
No, but yeah, Queens, as I said, I think is the most diverse borough. Just I've said it in my other podcast. I just think like Astoria, like you find all your Greek, Albanian, Colombians out there, but then like in Jackson Heights, there's even more Colombians, but other Latinos like Ecuadorians,
Right.
and then Corona Queens, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
Then in what even Jamaica Queens is all the Black people. Like you have like, and you have. When there's more diversity, obviously there's more diversity in the food, and that's why New York in general is just like
So diverse.
I used to.
It
I,
wins. It
I
just
used
wins.
to think Queens was the second worst borough growing up
Oh.
because I was
Tell us what was the
I was
first one.
told
obviously Staten Island. Like, come on, is that even
like
a-
no hate
Like, it's no
like,
hate.
I'm
It's
not-
just like there's no
it's
comparison.
all love for Staten
There's
Island,
no
but
comparison though.
but like it's not. It's just it's different. It's just a different
Honestly,
thing.
sometimes I'm like, yo, Long Island should be put on
Like,
the map.
no,
But honestly, Long I
alright.
can't just.
All right, we're not gonna go.
I just
We don't need the
can't remember.
Hamptons in New York
When was
City.
the last time you were
Okay,
in
but the
Staten Island?
Long Island is not
The
just.
last
a
time I was in
beach.
Staten
Yeah.
Island, I think I went for like a funeral or some shit. Like
Damn.
no,
Kidding.
like
Well, the last time
so-
I was there was because I ran the New York Marathon, and I just
Really?
that's where it
Yeah.
starts.
That's really cool.
And prior to 2017, I
She did the damn thing.
think I was there once.
Good for
And
you.
I was born and raised in New York.
I was gonna say that, like, I used to think Queens was the second worst, but now I think Queens is the second best because,
Ooh.
like, Staten Island, you know, Staten Island. Brooklyn is like Invasion of the Body Snatchers nowadays. Like, it's either like all like white folk from Connecticut or like, you know, Massapequa, and like they pull in and
Yeah.
they open up a
The
coffee shop or something.
gentrification really succeeded in Brooklyn.
Big time.
Like for sure.
Big
But
time, yeah.
honestly,
The amount of Canadians I know living in Crown Heights, and I love you, my Canadians.
yo,
But like, you did not grow up in Brooklyn.
No.
Like,
Right.
you know, and Manhattan is just like it.
it's a tourist
it's a
attraction.
Right.
It's a trap. Yeah, like it has its pros. Like it's nice to go out in, and it's crazy,
Yeah.
and like it's good for work.
Yeah.
But in terms of like being a borough and like a cultural sort of community or like a home, it doesn't really feel like a home. It feels like a rental.
Brooklyn.
No,
No,
Manhattan.
Manhattan. No, yeah, no.
I
It's
would
just money
say-
making.
Yeah.
I would say that
Madness there.
if I was back in New York, I would be living in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I might be.
I'm an
well,
East Side girl,
yeah.
so it would have been like 86, 70, one of,
You would
one
live
of
in the Upper East Side?
Yes.
Yeah, or like even up in like Spanish Harlem,
Bougie.
like above 99th.
Around those areas, yeah.
Yeah.
It would have to
Honestly,
be
I would live
Manhattan.
in Queens, but that's just me. Or honestly, I understand Brooklyn really went through the whole gentrification process, which is what I
It
was
doesn't
saying.
mean it's not a good place
That's
to
what
live.
I'm saying. I'm like in the middle
It has so much
about
history.
gentrification. Yeah, when I
much
first
history.
thought of Brooklyn when I was younger, because my cousins used to live in Brooklyn, it was all about hip hop, Biggie, gangs, violence. But like now, I feel like that gang and violence situation like moved to the Bronx, and now like the Bronx has
Yeah.
that name. Like when people think of the Bronx, it's like, yo, didn't you have a shooting there like yesterday? And
Although
it's,
there are still pretty like rough areas in Brooklyn, like
Right.
But, like, it's
Nostrand
like,
Avenue
you're
can
gonna
still
find
be
that
not the,
everywhere.
But no
the
one,
happiest
like,
place
nowadays-
on earth, you know what I'm saying?
in like this generation, no one's thinking of Brooklyn as that like unsafe area. Yeah, it's a little more unsafe than where you probably came from, but now it's like everyone, there's a farmer market here, like you can go do yoga to the people here for free, like there's rooftops, there's just like a little bit for everyone in Brooklyn. And a lot of times growing up, a lot of people told me like Brooklyn is like Manhattan but cheaper, but because of the gentrification,
Sure.
that
It's
shit
so
ain't
expensive.
true anymore. Like it's just as expensive as Manhattan. But Brooklyn's fucking dope. It's just like I feel like it's not the old Brooklyn that it used to be. Like I feel like when gentrification happens, it's just like you lose tradition. But change is good, but
Lose
to how,
history.
like to what extent? So my next question is like, I know the Bronx is now up and coming with gentrification. Like, what's your take on it? Like, what was your childhood like as compared to how the Bronx is now?
Well, like generally like
You guys
We
have
have
different. You guys have different
We have
childhoods.
different
Of course.
childhoods, even though we grew up in the Bronx. I would say this. I don't think I moved out here in 2015, so it'll be 4 years this August. I don't think I've experienced it
Okay.
as much because it's currently happening.
Yeah. No, the Bronx gentrification, I feel like
It's
is
a very
relatively
current
new.
thing.
It is. So I don't
This
think
is more of like I feel like
I've
the question
witnessed
is-
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like so growing up, like my grandmother owned a dress store on 231st Street for a really long. She had like a dress store for 50 years, and my grandfather on my father's side also had a clothing store down on Broadway and 231st. My mother owned a shoe store for a long time. There was so much family-owned business for a long time in the Bronx in general. That was very much like something that I mean, maybe this is just my personal experience, but was very like ingrained in that area. But like nowadays, there are a lot of like mini malls that come up all around that area. There are a lot of like the obviously no one's complaining about the parks department cleaning up the parks, but like you'll see like an ice skating rink around Van Cortlandt Park, or like a new apartment complex starting to go up, or like, you know, even like around Inwood, like which is just into Manhattan, but like that area, it like you see it creeping up Broadway, like all the way from Dyckman up to 242nd Street where the one train ends, and like bit by bit you'll see areas no longer being these like sort of like mom and pop type shops, but they turn into like, I don't know, like a T-Mobile or like a chain supermarket, or like now we got a Boston Market or some shit. Like
that's like
of
the
course.
spot. Like that's like the store that kind of takes over the local businesses.
Like if you see a Starbucks in the Bronx, it's probably been touched by the hand of Father Gentrification.
Father G.
Father G, and he's starting to sort of invite people uptown and say it's okay, it's safe. You know, the people who used to live here aren't here quite as much anymore.
Right.
I would say from like listening to Twitter, not listening, from, you know, being on my Twitter and listening to my peers talk. So I don't know if it's a joke, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So we all know Yankee Stadium's in 161.
Yeah.
So when I'll be coming home from work, crowded ass train.
Yeah, of course.
You knew so I'm going all the way to Kingsbridge, which is like the fucking end of the 4 train line.
Yeah.
So I knew to stand in front of a white person because I knew. So I'm here, you know, holding on. I knew that that person was going to get off in 161.
Okay.
It didn't go past 161 because that's kind of
You just
the
assume.
bad side, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Oh, not anymore.
No.
The few times that I've gone back home, people are on the subway and they're getting off in 183rd,
Absolutely.
Fordham, Kingsbridge, and so on. You know, and I'm like, where are you guys going?
Yeah.
I understand
Is there a
people
body that I don't know about?
Right? I'm like, I understand people getting off in Fordham, you're going to Fordham University,
Right.
but where are the rest of you going?
When you think of gentrification, what do you think of? Do you think of white people invading the minority space? Because that's kind of how it, like, most people that I've read on the news or in the paper, it's like the whites invading, the white people with money invading a certain area.
You know,
but
go ahead.
I also just think that that white person could be a college student at Fordham
Right.
University who's just trying to find cheaper rent, and they
Right.
know because no other white people or like no other people with money have like occupy that area, that they're like, oh, I'm gonna fucking just live here because, and that's why you're just like,
Right.
what are you doing in this area? And I'm like, yo, I'm just trying to pay rent like the rest of you. So it's kind of just like a mindset thing, I think. Like, that's why I don't think gentrification is totally bad, but sometimes I can understand why the locals are like, they frown upon it, just because like sometimes that Starbucks is gonna take over that local mom and pop shop that has been there for years, that and their grandkids have been there and that's all they know. So they're like, oh, now you're just invading my space, taking my job, because now that Starbucks is there, you closed down my store, and now these other new local hipster kids are taking
Right.
my money. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of just like, I understand it, but at the same time, there's new things, I guess, just for the new generation. This might be just pushing away like old
For
tradition.
the new generation,
Yeah.
but what is there for his grandparents? What
Yeah.
is there for your abuela and your abuelito?
Yeah.
So
you know,
I,
the Starbucks is really just for our generation.
Yeah.
It's
We
like,
need Starbucks.
when
but-
I think about gentrification, I don't just think about, like, obviously in my mind, like, I think about white people sort of like mini colonializing, you know, not white neighborhoods.
right.
But like what I primarily think about is like businesses capitalizing off lower income areas and utilizing that to their advantage,
Right.
and then inviting like white communities into spaces that didn't typically belong or like, you know, have them in them. So that, and like not only that, but these businesses then kind of phase out the lower income people that already live there. So like you'll look at a low income neighborhood and you'll see a business open up that's way too expensive for the people that typically live in this neighborhood.
Right.
But you start getting people that make more money down in like lower Manhattan that will move up into the Bronx or something like that, that'll be able to afford the housing way easier, and they'll take advantage of the stores that now start to like open up in there.
So do you think, this is a quote from Manuela Garcia, she's like very big on the gentrification topic, and she says that gentrification is the catalyst for cultural decay. Like, do you believe that's true, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that to an extent. Like, just look at Brooklyn. Like, look at what areas of Brooklyn are. I did a show last summer in Red Hook, Brooklyn, and like, now, like the area in which I did the show, like, to get there, I had to either take a bus or take a car, or like the train did not take me there. I had to get there like a couple extra miles.
Why is that?
Red Hook. It's like
Oh, Red Hook is
south of, you know, like Carroll Gardens area.
Yes.
It's like
I've been there.
south, like right on the tip of Brooklyn.
It's kind of
on
like the
water.
pier of Brooklyn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's where a lot of like the
Like seafood and like,
yes, a lot of seafood. They got like crab shacks.
yo, but they
and
got this bomb ass fucking southern place there. It's like brisket and shit, bro.
the I think we might be talking
I
about.
feel like there's not many places there. Like it's like the one.
There's like they call the Brooklyn Crab, and right next to it, there's like this really crazy barbecue joint.
Steph on that one.
Yes, so like this area in general, like in order to get there, I passed through like, you know, like the projects and all that, and like it looks like a more like it looks like the projects, and then all of a sudden you'll hit this
like
area where you see like this crab shop or this barbecue place or like, you know, a fairway or something like that, and it's really clear that the people that live in the projects are not shopping or patronizing these joints.
And the only reason I know about this area in Red Hook, Brooklyn is because I used to work for Vita Coco and I was doing the marketing and sales and all that, and like we had parties there. But my job was to bring in the coconut milk into like local supermarkets. Obviously Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and all those places were huge. But in that area, because like I wasn't going really to many other places besides like Williamsburg, because that's hipster as fuck and like has been gentrified to the max. And like as much as I love coconut water and coconut milk, like as a Dominican or a minority, you ain't buying Vita Coco. You're buying Goya because it's like $2, $3 cheaper. And I get that every bit, and like they feel like it's a more authentic taste to what they're used to.
Yeah.
So when I was like, because I would have to distribute this coconut water and coconut milk all throughout Manhattan. Like I would like each week was like a different section. I would go the Upper West this week, Upper East this week. So like some areas were easier than others to pitch it and sell it into. Like Williamsburg, breeze. Any local store there, I was like, I'm putting Vita Coco in every single store here.
Yeah.
But when I went to fucking Dykeman or any of those places, they're like, ain't nobody spending $5 on a coconut water or like your coconut milk. I'm sorry, I know the benefits. I know it's good for you, and I know that, you know, I know you're just trying to make $1 or whatever, and like you're trying to sell it in, and I appreciate you, and like I'm like, for me, I was buying real estate. I would give them like 10 free cases just to try it out, sell it. I'm like, I'm sure people are gonna buy it. But that's like the risk that you had to take. You had to take that chance, and if it didn't sell, then they're just not gonna buy from you, and that's that. But like I knew where places were gentrified based on where I could sell in this coconut water and coconut milk.
That's also like, that's part of the reason why like it's not just a white person thing. Like it's not just white people coming in. Like if white people were moving into the Bronx and they were like patronizing like people of color owned businesses and things like that. Like if you saw white people moving into like the East Bronx and like they were drinking nutcrackers on the block, like that would be great. Like that would be really cool, because then like you'd see like sort of like melding of communities, but that's not the case. White people come in and then they go to businesses
they just replace
they replace these businesses, and they seek businesses that fit their aesthetic or fit their, you know, income or whatever. They're not at like every single bodega picking up their sandwiches in the morning, or like, going to like the Kennedy Fried or some shit like
$5 latte at Starbucks.
Yeah, exactly. Like they will opt for the Starbucks instead of the dollar coffee. And that's what makes the difference, because then the Starbucks makes the 5 instead of the Dominican spot making the 1. And then the Dominican spot disappears in a year and everyone asks, where did it go? You know, like, oh, but I moved into the area. But like you didn't support the area. You just utilized it.
May I ask what happened to your family's businesses?
Yeah, sure. So my grandfather's clothing store, he ended up moving up to like New City up in Rockland County, which is like 30 minutes north of the city, and he opened up like delis up around there. He just wanted to move up there for like the sake of like a house and a family and stuff. My father actually owned a clothing shop on 231st also, but that just ended up closing down over time. Same with my mom's shoe shop, like she couldn't keep up with it, like the money. And my grandmother's store was the one that...
if you're not having like steady, constant buzz every single day, rent is expensive. It's like the most expensive place to have real estate in this country.
It only gets higher. And like that's not exactly what happened to my grandmother's store. She had it for 50 years. And it was a big store too. It was a big dress store. And she had, you know, a lot of consistent business over the years, but by the time like 2010 hit, bride and, you know, the bride, mother of the bride type dress stores are not really that popping. And like the neighborhood in particular, that area of Kingsbridge, like on 231st, was no longer, you know, she catered to like a lot of like, I don't know, I guess like the neighborhood changed a little bit around her, and it definitely got in that area like more Spanish and more black, and people were not really as interested in like going to a store like that. And she never updated her wares, which was her own fault. Like she never changed her thing up.
She didn't keep up with the times.
She did not keep up with the times. She felt like she knew best. And this was a big store, so like rent was crazy.
I can bet.
And so eventually she kind of just, I mean, she got older and it just sort of became time. I mean, like 50 years is a long time for any business that isn't like franchised these days. Like you don't see mom and pop shops staying open that long. I think even now on that block, like the only two things that are even close to that old are, there's a barber shop right next to it where I still get my hair cut. Shout out to Tony. Tony still cuts my hair, God bless him, an old Italian man. And there's like a old like kosher delicatessen, and that one has been open like almost 70 years now, I think. And those are the only two, and everything else is either like getting phased out, or it's like a State Farm, or you know, a Popeyes or some shit like that.
I fucks with Popeyes.
Obviously,
but it's a chain.
You know, I'm just saying, like, you know, nobody that's living in the Bronx is running Popeyes.
Right.
They're just working in Popeyes.
So gentrification, I guess it's like the only way. Well, most of the time that does happen, it does like affect, like result in cultural decay. But I guess if the people going into these new areas go in with the mindset as like they want to like integrate the old traditions into what they're doing, that's kind of like where gentrification could be great. Like
it's like if you move to like a new country, for example, like let's say you move to like Italy, and you move to like the countryside of Italy, you're not thinking to yourself like, oh, I'm gonna open up this really crazy American joint and everybody's gonna start patronizing that joint.
You kind of have to
like
make a blend.
You need to immerse yourself into that community and ingratiate yourself to them, so that way they feel as though you're not a threat to it, that you're excited about it. And that's what's missing from like white people moving into traditionally not white neighborhoods, is that they're afraid of the neighborhoods they're moving into. So they'll gravitate toward areas that feel more like themselves. Where they're comfortable, exactly. And it isolates the spaces that were already there.
And that's why it angers the people that already live there, the locals that live there, because they're like, what the fuck, you're just invading my space and you're taking over my businesses and you're taking my money, and you're just like, you're just turning the place that I used to call home into you're just taking what's mine as yours.
I was talking to my uncle about the same thing, because he's living in Inglewood, which is like, you know, I don't know, I'm not about to be like, yeah, it's like the Bronx of LA, but like,
it's a little bit of the hood.
But like, and he was talking about how like when he first moved around there were a lot of like black owned business, or like people of color owned business that were not always so immediately welcoming to him. Like there was definitely a skeptical eye cast on him when he'd start to go to these establishments, and he'd be the only white person in this place. And I'd be like, well, can you blame them? Like because when you start to see a white person in an area that's not white, you have to assume like, oh, this process is beginning. We're gonna start seeing businesses that no longer cater to our community, and that's that. And it's only a matter of time before we have to move south, or we have to go somewhere else where we can actually afford it. You know, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be back in the Bronx this summer, so
Maybe you'll
can't
see.
wait
Maybe
to
you'll
see
see
the
the
changes.
changes.
Yeah, a couple
So like, I
stands
mean,
I
like
recognize.
every time that you've gone back to visit New York, though, like, have you seen significant changes? Not really.
Not
I mean, I guess because you're going
really.
to home and there ain't no changes.
Like I guess I'm not paying attention.
I guess.
You know,
It's
I'm in
also
the
not
subway.
necessarily
I'm
what
minding,
you're looking for.
no,
Like
I'm
the
in the
subway still
subway.
looks the
I'm
same.
minding my own business. I'm going
Yeah.
straight
The
to my
rats
pizza
still look the same.
shop.
You're like, hey, what's up?
Exactly. Like I'm going to my chinitos, my pizza pop, my pizza
You're going to your stop, but like,
my Dominican hair lady. I don't know. I guess because I'm there for a week
short
the
time.
most, and I'm going from point A to point B, and that's what
yeah.
I'm not looking for it.
Right.
So I don't know. I probably sound ignorant that I'm not paying attention.
No.
But I'm
I mean,
definitely
like,
gonna
shit.
be
Well,
more.
also,
That's
when
like
was the
people
last time
don't
you
watch
were
the
there?
news. I don't fucking
I'm
watch.
definitely gonna be more observative after this conversation. You know, once I go home and
Yeah.
speak to my parents about it, speak to my grandma about it.
Like how they feel about what's going on
Right.
in their neighborhood. Yeah.
Right.
In their own backyard.
Also, I definitely spend like an okay amount of time in that area of Kingsbridge. Like, my boy lives right around there on Sedgwick, and like my brother lives on Orloff. So, like, I'll be around there, and it definitely hasn't hit that area the same way that it's hit like a little
I
bit
would
further
say perhaps
west.
maybe
Or
Fordham.
yeah, like around yeah.
College areas are always, I feel
College
like, the
area,
target
yeah.
area
Yeah.
to like hit first. Like,
Yeah.
oh, young people, they're gonna be about this wave right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think.
Momo making us get serious.
No,
Yeah.
it's a serious topic, you
Momo
know?
on the Move addresses the real topics, alright? We know
Alright.
what our Momovators want to listen to.
Yeah.
Alright, we want to talk about the real shit.
I mean, we could talk about Cardi. That's what most people know about the fucking Bronx.
Oh my
And I
goodness.
just feel like she has definitely put the Bronx on the map. The Bronx, I feel like, has always
Right.
been on the map. You know, we start with the Bronx,
There's
boogie down,
always
the boogie
somebody
down Bronx.
There's always somebody repping the Bronx.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't forget J-Lo.
Yeah, well,
Jenny from the Block.
But we can't forget J-Lo, but J-Lo
I
forgot
think she might
us.
have almost forgot about
No, but
No,
like,
y'all can't
even
hate
without
her.
Cardi,
No,
like,
I think
I
she's
can't hate
fine.
her.
there's like Deezus and Miro, for example, who are like super like Bronx
She
heads.
doesn't know who they are.
What?
Yeah, she kept telling me about this.
Cardi or
No, I
J-Lo?
know Cardi. Come on.
Wait,
Deezus
you
and
don't
Miro.
know who Deezus is? You?
Me.
Right?
You?
What the fuck, bro?
She doesn't.
Yo, we're that's
you.
not funny.
They're asking
Yo,
me.
I don't know.
that's so
Yeah.
on Momo brand too. Like,
Wow.
you need to watch these guys.
Yeah,
All right,
They
I'm
are
gonna watch
hysterical.
you guys. Okay, I think
Yeah,
we
shout out
got
to
enough.
Deezus and Miro. Tune in.
Jesus and Miro.
Deezus and Miro.
I'm gonna
yeah.
check
You're
you guys
going
out.
to love them.
We're gonna check it out on the next episode
I'm
of
sick. I
Momo.
can't believe you don't.
Thank you guys, Jacob, for putting me on the spot, Steph, and being on my show. It's been a fucking pleasure. Bye, guys.